just changing this 1.2 acres out of the PRD and back to R3, and then amending the overall density because it's, again, reducing the area. The Planning Commission did review this, did recommend approval, and again, nothing has changed on this since you looked at it on first reading.
Questions for Kevin on this?
I know we talked about this, but I don't remember why I couldn't, as I was reviewing this again. The 1.2 acres, they're putting it back as an R3 to build houses on, or what was the purpose of wanting to take it back out?
It's going to be combined back into one of the adjoining tracts of land.
Right.
And I assume at some point it may come in to be as a part of that development or something that happens there. I haven't talked to anyone about developing that area, so I don't know if it's just something that was kept back and put back with that tract of land. There's no plan. I have not received any type of development plan or anything for that 1.2 acres or the other property adjacent to it at this time. So I really don't know what I'm sure at some point it may come in with an R3 type development or something like that. I haven't received anything at this point. I haven't talked to anyone about that at this time.
So it didn't have a definite purpose for being put back with the R3? Okay.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Just that it was not going to be a part of this development any longer, and it's going to be combined to that adjoining tract.
Okay.
Other questions for Kevin? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 3, which is consideration of an ordinance to amend the Town of Smyrna Municipal Code, Title 8, Alcoholic Beverages, Chapter 3, Retail Sales of Alcoholic Beverages, to allow manufacturing of wine. This is a second reading. Jeff?
Yes, Mayor and Council, today is the second reading, so we've discussed this. As it stands currently, the production of wine would not, at a winery would not be allowed per our ordinance, and this would allow a winery to operate and produce wine at the location.
Questions for Jeff on this? Okay, we'll move on to item 4, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with MTEMC for them to share GIS files related to the street light locations. Have they changed what they're being called now? I had heard that the other day, that it's not MTEMC anymore. Do you know if that's true or not? Maybe that was
Fake
false
news out there, I don't know. I haven't heard that one.
If it's
Yeah,
on
this
the internet, it's true, you know that.
I know MED is not called MED.
Right, but I had heard when the merger had happened that they were, so I don't know if that's accurate or not.
I have not heard
So,
anything
okay.
change.
Basically, this is an agreement between us and Middle Tennessee Electric to be able to use some of their GIS files that they keep as far as tracking where street lights are currently located in Smyrna. So we'll be able to get that GIS information and use that to determine future locations for street lights.
Questions for Tom on this? Thanks, Tom. Okay, item 5 is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the completed special event application to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers relative to Boat Day and Water Fest event.
We're hoping this year to be able to do boat days. As you know, last year we weren't able to get that done because of COVID restrictions, but this is an application to Army Corps so we can utilize Jefferson Park to perform the 13th annual boat day.
I didn't notice to see if it talked about the town manager being the first one in the water.
That was removed from the contract.
Oh, it was?
Yes, ma'am.
It was.
I put that back.
What do you think about it?
I agree.
We don't vote.
I agree. And it has to be filmed as well. Not only has to be first one in, but it has to be filmed.
Wear a
Question-
crown, I suppose.
And wearing the crown, that's right. Anybody have questions on this?
Is that typically around June?
Yes, it's the third week of June.
Maybe we'll make it this year.
I hope so.
Okay, item 6 is approval of terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with John Bouchard and Son relative to the 4R lift station upgrade project. Mike, how are you?
Hello, doing well. How are you?
Great.
So we went out for bid December the 15th on this project. This is an upgrade of the 4R lift station. Taylor Farms and Vijon hit this lift station, and it's been 30 some odd years since we have done any any major rehab to this station. It's sorely in need, and John Bouchard and Sons was the low bidder.
Questions for Mike on this? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the authorizing resolution and loan documents for the wastewater treatment plant SRF funding, which we are excited about.
Yes, ma'am, we are. This is the one we did the public hearing on, so we got the loan documents and authorizing resolution late last night and have worked all day putting this together. So the final numbers for the wastewater plant, it is a $17.2 million SRF loan, 30 years, and the interest rate is 0.90%.
It's not a bad interest rate, would y'all agree? Okay, questions for Mike on this?
Mayor, I believe we have to take a vote tonight on
Yes, sir.
those two, both
On both
this
of
and the other item. Since the special meeting was held last, and they have to be filed.
Okay, so questions for Mike on this? Okay, seeing none then, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We will now move on to item 8, which is approval of terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute the authorizing resolution and loan documents for the water AMI SRF loan.
Yes, ma'am. Again, this is the authorizing resolution and loan docs. The amount of the SRF loan is $3 million for this project. It is a 20-year loan, and the interest rate is 0.68%.
Questions for Mike on this? Seeing no questions, do I have a motion to approve?
Move we approve. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Mike, I just want to say thanks to you, Brian, and all the staff that have worked so hard on making sure that this happens. I mean, I think it is a huge win for the town, and, you know, when you think about the size of these projects, it's kind of unbelievable.
Right.
So, anything else before we take a vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll now move on to item 9, which is approval of the Smyrna Police Standard Operating Procedures 2-57 LPR policy.
I'm standing in for Chief Arnold tonight on that one. This is the follow-up from us purchasing the license plate readers. What they did is the police department established a policy for the officers to follow, just standard procedures to have the process that we need to apply for it in.
Questions for Todd on this? Anything new to add with how things are going with that?
We have 9 that are installed, and 8 of them are functioning. 1 of them we're working on the Wi-Fi part. The other one is just a location issue. Wi-Fi is a little bit difficult. We're just trying to find a good signal for it to get for that location.
Gotcha.
Do we have any portable ALPR systems?
No, sir. Now, we have these same cameras are able to be put on a portable device, which assumingly will be a next step in, because we do have some speed trailers. The police department does have speed trailers that we can mount these on the speed trailers. Right now, testing out with a fixed location, getting our policies in place, it's best to kind of start small, and especially when you're dealing with a new process like this for the officers.
Have you heard of any that use them at special events or anything like that, where you have large gatherings of people?
Absolutely. They have a lot of the mobile trailers will, a lot of larger events will have them on mobile trailers and set them at your main choke point, so to speak, coming into the location, especially locations where you almost have a, you know, one ingress, one egress, and it's easier to find that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, questions for Todd on this? Okay, thank you, sir. Item 10 is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute an agreement with Allen's Air Care relative to the purchase and installation of an HVAC unit for Fire Station 1.
I'm stepping in for Chief Culbertson on that one. These are 1993 units. One's a 4-ton, one's a 5-ton. We're replacing 2 of them. It was a budgeted item, but wanted to get the council approval for the 2 air conditions. It's approximately $16,000.
Questions for Chief Squared on this?
I was looking at the bids, there was only one bidder that bid on the, okay.
It's fairly difficult when you're talking about the fire halls. You've got to have the lifts. A lot of some companies don't have access to the lifts, and when they do have to go out and lease a lift, it raises the price, obviously, for the lift. And we've had good working relationship with Allen's Air Care as well. We had the same issue at the police department where we're having to put a unit, extend it over into it to make it a little bit easier, so.
I knew we'd worked with them in the past on different
And
projects like that. but-
they have the equipment easily to be able to do that, and that's why their bid is usually the way it is.
Okay.
Okay, item 11 is consideration of the declaration of surplus items.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm carrying that tonight in the absence of Rex. I think you've seen the list of items that are available, and we'd like to move forward with getting those out there.
Any questions on any of these items?
Are you going to bid on the Barbie unicorn set?
I was wondering about the fireplace key and the, quite a few items, actually.
There's quite an array of different items out
It's a
there this time.
plethora of
Yes,
items, yes. Are there anything that struck somebody's fancy on the list?
I didn't see any Gucci belts.
No Gucci
there.
belts? But there is a Disney princess.
We have Burberry sunglasses this time, so.
Barbies, all sorts of stuff, so. Okay, any questions about the declaration of surplus items? Okay, we will move on to item 12 under Other, which is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute a contract with S&W Contracting Company Incorporated relative to the GIS fiber line relocation on the SR1, US 41, US 70 South, South Lowry Street / North Lowry Street project to go from Jackson Street to Sam Davis Road project.
Good morning,
Hi.
Mayor and Council. This is for the Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne GIS fiber line that currently is on the east side of Lowry Street. We're removing those poles at the Lowry Street project, so it's just relocating it to the west side.
Questions for Charles on this?
Will they have to be moved back? Or this is going to be their new permanent
This will be their
location?
permanent location for now. Under the new Lowry Street, we will put in an empty conduit for the town, and at a later time, if we want to move it back, they can. We'll have the conduit there for them.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, item B is approval of the terms of and authorization for the mayor to execute change order number 3 with Jones Brothers Contractors LLC relative to the Enon Springs West Extension Project. Charles?
Mayor and Council, this change order covers items that were not accounted for in the original construction plans for the storm drainage work at the junction of Old Nashville Highway and the traffic signal conduit replacement. Once we got into the intersection, we found that that conduit was crushed when we started to run the new line through there. And also item 20304, the topsoil for the firing range, that will be paid by the Town of Smyrna Police Department.
Okay, questions for Charles on this? Okay, thank you.
Charles, I'm
sir.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Wait, I know it wasn't something we were doing, but I recall seeing an item for opening up St. Francis, I think, to Enon Springs Road.
Yeah, right now, that's going to be, the developer has submitted a proposal to planning, and right now, we're just waiting on construction plans to come through. But that will be the developer that will
All
make
be
that,
at the developer's cost.
that will
We
be
don't have
all
to-
at the
We've already
developer's.
put a cut there, right?
Yes, we've put the
Okay.
connection there, and they will make the connection between St. Francis and Eden Springs.
Okay.
But that's not anything we think that's going to be soon, right?
I'm not sure. Like I said, he's brought it forth to planning
Okay.
on a plat, and we have the right-of-way designation, so now we're just waiting for the construction plans to come through and have it ready to build. So I'm not sure what his timeline is.
I was just wanting to make sure that we weren't gonna have to do, from a town perspective, anything to help support that, like any kind of signalization or anything like that there.
No, everything of ours is already completed. Like I said, we made the connection there at the intersection, and that is where they will connect onto the
So
road.
to the mayor's point, everything going forward is pretty much on the developer's timeline.
Right,
So
and one thing we have met with Middle Tennessee Electric, and they are going to run some temporary lighting out there because they didn't see putting in anything permanent because when they develop it for commercial, it'd be regraded, so, but we did want to get lighting on the project, so Middle Tennessee Electric will be doing it at their cost.
Brian, is that the one that we've been getting calls about?
It is.
Yeah.
And again, it's up to the developer. He has brought in a plan, as Charles has outlined, but we do not know what his timeframe of doing that road will be.
That was the point. I had also gotten an email or two. I wanted to make
We
sure
get a lot of
that,
calls on that.
make sure that everybody understands that the town's not doing that work, and we've done everything in preparation for it.
Right.
But it's now on the developer.
It is on the
Well, and I know there's some that are frustrated because it definitely would cut off some time, but,
It's definitely gonna be a nice ad.
Right.
but
right.
Well, and to be fair, the original roadway that connected there was a
Was not a,
construction
it was a construction entrance that
It
got
was-
used as a road, so.
Yes.
It was never intended, it was
It was
never
never
built
intended
as a
for that
road,
purpose.
but it got used quite a bit,
Yeah.
so.
okay, thank you.
Okay, our state shared tax is
I've got it.
on our stuff.
Okay, I've
Do you
got
want
it.
to talk? Okay.
Yeah, I've got.
Go ahead.
Okay, so for the local sales tax, we collected $1,236,004, which gives us year-to-date a surplus of $940,520. And our November state shared tax collected was $562,873, which gives us a year-to-date surplus of $68,424. And if I could, while I've got your attention, Rex had one or two other things just to share with the council and our
On that,
community.
just before we move, on the local sales tax, can you send us that one?
Yes,
We don't have, we got the state share, but we just don't have the
yeah,
local.
it just came out, so.
Okay,
we
perfect.
got it on here.
Thanks.
June 30th, 2020 audit is posted on our website now, and if you go to the departments and click on finance, you will find that. We got a great audit, as we already mentioned to the council, but it is now posted on the website. And then also, just so for your information, we have started our budget process for the 2021 budget year, so.
Questions for Brian? Questions for Brian filling in for Rex?
Thank you, Rex.
Yeah.
Nice to have a surplus built up there, so.
Yes.
It is.
Miss Diane, anything?
No, the only thing I have is so far we've issued 29 licenses, and that's just for 3 weeks, so
Good.
busy
Wow.
for December.
Mike?
Yes, so we've been working on the water supply stuff with the Corps for multiple years now. Excuse me, we just received word from the Corps that they had come to an agreement and had gotten it signed and were working it down to their captain there to give final approval. But what it does, in essence, we were going to have to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.7 million. It has reduced that amount to somewhere around $750,000, and we will get credit for return flows back into the lake. So we're putting in 6-7 million gallons right now. What we don't know on the final numbers is what allotment we have been given as far as million gallons per day of water that we can withdraw. I don't know if they're reducing that number and giving us credit for the 6 million gallons that we're putting back. We have not seen those final numbers yet, but everything looks great so far. It's a huge win for us as far as what we're looking at is supplying water and getting credit for those return flows, because that was one of our major issues, was that they were not wanting to credit return flows back into the lake. So that's a huge step forward, and once we receive all of the documents and the summaries and everything, we'll be able to go through that and determine exactly where we stand, but everything looks great right now, so.
Question?
No, I want to answer that because I don't know if everybody's absorbing what this means, but this was a big win, and I want to, especially Mike and his team, but also our partners. I know Murfreesboro and Darren Gore and his staff has been working on this for some time. We've had legal counsel working on this for us, outside of legal counsel. It is a big win for us to get a credit back for what we're putting back versus what we're taking out. And it'll help us not only monetarily, but it also helps us with, I think, as we get into this, the number of gallons available in the reservoir and those kind of things. So it's a long-term good win for us, and I just want to thank everybody that was involved, and Mike, for your leadership and our council leadership for bringing this to the table.
I can remember, well, we went to Washington. Jeff, were you on that trip? How long ago was that? I mean, it seems forever ago.
Yeah, that was
Years. So,
2012.
This has been going on for a while, and Brian's right. There's a lot of people that did a lot of work to get it here. Jeff and his team, obviously Darren and Bill with Murfreesboro and CUD have done a lot, but getting the state legislature to put into law that return flows should be credited, I think that was a big piece of this puzzle. So it's all kind of coming together. We'll see how the final product shakes out, but it's going to be a win, I think, for not only the town, but for years to come for water supply.
We had a companion issue with that on them wanting us to pay for maintenance and upkeep of the dam itself. Where are they with that?
That's part of the
Settlement in this?
part of the whole big piece of the puzzle. There is still things in there that we have to pay for. That was part of the original $2.8 million. So that has been reduced down, best we can tell so far, somewhere in the neighborhood of $750,000. So it's a little south of a $2 million savings for us. So that's a pretty good win.
other questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's next out there? Is there somebody else?
I don't think one more. Yeah, Kevin's coming
Kevin.
back in.
Just got a couple things. I just for the planning commission which is next year, but
In a week.
2.5 weeks away. We do have about 4 items that are going to be coming to you all. A couple annexation requests and a couple of rezoning requests. The annexation requests aren't big ones, but they are still got to come to you all. And we also have one thing on there. There's a site plan, Dual Fast, which is a larger company, but they have a local presence, and they are expanding their footprint in Smyrna and building a new building. And so that's nice to see companies grow and grow their
The one at 7 Oaks.
on Seven Oaks Boulevard, yes. So that's coming for the planning commission next week, or next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's amazing to get a packet for planning commission like 2.5 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
It's great.
It was a little earlier than normal
Yeah.
to avoid so us as well as the engineering companies aren't having to work over the Christmas break, so. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right.
Anybody else out
I
there?
think that's all we've got coming in from the outside, Mayor.
Okay, do you have anything else?
Just very quickly, I got a really nice email from one of our citizens, and she just wanted to share that how much she appreciated the great job being done by our brush trucks. And let me tell you, we get enough complaints about the brush trucks. It's really nice to get a positive, but he said he is always impressed because they don't leave behind any debris. They get out and clean up the mess, the full mess and everything, and just wanted to show some appreciation. So to Lee Parnell and Chaz Dearman out of the Streets Department, and Tom, thank you for the job you're doing. The next thing, I think we've got something to come up on the screen. Just want to remind everybody that we will be closed here at Town Hall and across the city, across the town for December 24th and December 25th, for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And then also we'll be closed next Friday, New Year's Day, January the 1st. But wanted to thank those folks that'll still be out there working for us, the fire, police, water treatment, wastewater treatment personnel, as well as there'll be some parks and rec people out there performing some services. The parks and stuff will still be open on those days. So wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, safe holiday season, and thank you for these folks that are continuing to work and keep our town moving forward. And Mayor, that's all I've got tonight.
Great. Jeff?
I have nothing, Mayor.
Raquel?
You gonna say Merry Christmas?
Merry Christmas to all of council. And Smyrna.
He forgot it was Christmas.
I look like the
I
green.
bet he wished Jack Merry Christmas.
I bet he did too.
Everybody knows that new suit he's.
Oh, is that what is that his Christmas gift
Yes.
To himself.
to himself?
Mr. Lauren gave it to me.
I can. Okay. I have a couple of things. We actually generally every year have an open house at Christmas time for CASA of Rutherford County. CASA is a volunteer organization that places like a guardian with children that are in foster care. And we weren't able to have our open house, but we still had people that made donations. And so this was through through work. But we were able to still take some donations, and we were actually able to raise over $11,000 for CASA Rutherford County this year. And so I wanted to just thank all the people who donated and just acknowledge that we still have that event. Hopefully next year we will get to have the Christmas open house like we did before. And secondly, Grace Baptist Church, which is on Nora Peoples Lane, had a food drive. I'm sorry, not a food drive, but a food giveaway on Monday. And they had over 1,200 boxes of food that were given out to people in the community. And so I just wanted to take a moment and thank them for blessing the community with doing this service for anyone who was in need. And also to thank you and Brian, who worked with Grace Baptist to get things coordinated. And also thank Chief Arnold and Smyrna Police Department, because there were some officers that were handling the traffic. There were so many people that were lined up. The line went all the way down and up to Old Nashville Highway.
I saw Tabitha's post, and it looks like they were able to provide items for everybody that came through. They
Yes.
didn't have to, so that was
They
something
were
that
able
was
to
really
do that,
good.
and
Yeah.
it was fresh produce and milk and things that people could use. So I thought that was really a blessing to be able to do that for the community, and so I wanted to
Absolutely.
thank them for that. So
Great.
And lastly, I would like to say Merry Christmas to the citizens and to everyone, and to just ask you all to be safe during this time. I know it's a different kind of year, but just continue to love your loved ones and appreciate the time that you do have with them. So Merry Christmas to all of you.
Great. HG?
You know, I was about 10 years old. I went to work at Smyrna Rexall. And that was when they first started paying me, probably. I worked in there earlier than that. But Christmas Eve was the biggest day of the year. You know, back in those days, there were no chain stores in Smyrna. There was nothing in Antioch. If you wanted something, you had to drive to Murfreesboro for it. And we had candy and perfumes and toys and all kinds of wonderful stuff. And I just used to love working on New Year's Eve. And Christmas Eve, excuse me. But, you know, I say all that to bring up the point about shopping local, of course. And we need to recognize that the local independent businesses are struggling these days as times are hard and the internet takes over, and there's a lot of these businesses that are kind of in a sink or swim mode. And so I would ask everybody to keep them in mind, and when they're looking for those last minute gifts and such as that, to look local. You know, there's always even just gift cards that can be given. And with that, I hope that the local businesses have a Merry Christmas. I hope all of y'all have a Merry Christmas, and all the citizens have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Tim?
I'd like to start off wishing my daughter Kristen a happy birthday today. Today's her birthday, so it's one of those things every year where you make sure you got birthday present, Christmas present, no combination presents. I've learned over the years. Also, I would again like to recognize our police, firefighters, water, wastewater, you know, our emergency responders, the doctors and the nurses. Daughter Leslie is an OR nurse at St. Thomas Ascension. I think I've got that right now. And she's on call that day. So, you know, always want to recognize those folks and thank them from the bottom of my heart for continuing to serve when folks are out and about and and with families. And with that, I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a safe and prosperous and much healthier 2021 for all. Thanks.
Great. Steve?
Don't have a lot. Obviously, would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hopefully, 2021 is going to be a little different than 2020. I think we're all kind of over 2021. It's 2020. It's one of those years that it doesn't feel like. A lot of times you get to the end of the year and you think, man, this year has flown by. It feels like this year has not flown by. So I am ready to a new beginning and a new year, and I think that we're all kind of ready for that. So hopefully we'll get to enjoy a lot of the events that we weren't able to enjoy this year, all the way from 4th of July to, or really about, I guess, Easter forward. Everything was pretty much canceled. So it feels like it's been a lot of years, a lot of time since I've been able to spend time at those events and see the folks around town that I normally see regularly. So looking forward to that, and I hope that you are too. Enjoy the holidays. Those people that you do get to spend time with, enjoy that time, because what we've learned through this is there was a lot of things we were taking for granted, and I think that's the silver lining to all of this, is that we realize now that life is short, time is short, and family and friends are important. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Great.
Nice sticker on the back of your computer, Steve.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me that.
Time of the year, a lot of people reflect on who's not with us anymore. So there's a lot of families out there that have struggled through some losses this year. HG, I know your family has, and our hearts and prayers are still with you guys. And I found out just recently a gentleman I graduated with, 63 years old, Steve Douglas, passed away. And so the Epps and the Douglas family, I want to continue to kind of lift them up in prayer. Let's not forget Braxton Harrell and Rex's grandson, Drew. You know, they're both dealing with some health issues that are quite complicated and quite challenging, so we want to continue to pray for them. I think about our schools being on break. You know, my wife's home this week, and when they go back, the pressure starts up again. It's a lot going on at the schools. You know, there's a lot of challenges. What to do with the students, what to do with the classrooms, and many of them are being sent home and sick. There's a gentleman there that HG and Tim and I probably will remember, Roger Beatty. Some of you may know Roger. He's worked at Smyrna Elementary School, and COVID's gotten under his skin a little bit, and so he's had some hospital care, and thinking about Roger a little bit too. Want to say best wishes to Jerry and Patty. I know Patty's feeling a little bit under the weather too, so we want to continue to think of them. Merry Christmas to everybody. HG, you mentioned shopping local again, and today I stopped in to Gill's, Ace Hardware. I had to run down and pick up a couple small items. Jenny was there, and we got to talking about, you know, just the old history of the town, and she had a collage of pictures back there, and took me back there, and we reminisced about the old history of town, and some of us were here for that, and 50 years ago, 40 and 50 years ago. So it's quite interesting to stand and talk to Jenny, but that's one of the things she mentioned, that during a COVID year, they've had a tremendously good year. And I want to give a lot of credit to HG for reminding everybody to shop local. So last but not least, I want to tell everybody how grateful I am that another year has come and gone, and the reason for the season is always going to be on my heart. It's not just Christmas. I want to wish Merry Christmas to everybody, and to our citizens out there that are watching. I also want to mention it to all of our employees and those directors and people that come in here and do the job every day. All you guys that have employees that work beneath you too, and we just want to tell them thank you for the jobs that they do. Thank you for your leadership, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody.
Great. I also wanted to send best wishes out to Patty and Jerry. Want to give you a little bit of an update. In our council meetings, at our next meeting, you will just see us in the meetings and whoever's going to be speaking and addressing the council. And then we will have only 10 people out in the lobby. And then if we have overflow, we are going to be putting those individuals into our conference room based on the executive order by the governor. The mayors have had a couple of calls with the governor over the last couple of days, and he has said he's going to continue to keep us updated. I do encourage you to take personal responsibility to make sure you and your family are safe. Based on gatherings at Thanksgiving, we know that there was a huge uptick, and we're also seeing that in our hospitals. And folks, those hospital workers are tired. They are working their tails off, and we need to do everything we can to make sure that we're doing our part to keep ourselves healthy. Excited that at our Transportation Policy Board, which is the board that I chair through what used to be MPO, that we have sent our regional transportation plan to Federal Highway and to TDOT, and have gotten comments back from them. We will go into the public comment phase, and then in February, we will vote on that. It is about a $10 billion amount that we disperse out for projects. The town did have projects on that, and it is something we update every 5 years. I will tell you, a lot of work goes into that. It is projects all over Middle Tennessee, and I will be looking forward to that vote in February. Christmas and New Year. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas as well. The one thing I want you to remember as citizens of the town of Smyrna, it took us a while in our family to learn this, but the date of celebrating is not always what the date is on the calendar. It's when you and your family can be together, and that might mean that we have to put that on hold for a little while. But I hope that, like Steve said, when you are able to spend that time with friends and family, that you make sure that you appreciate that. It is something none of us need to take for granted. So if there is nothing else, anything else to come before the board? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and please stay safe. We are adjourned.